everybody. We're back with the Darling in the Franxx review. This time we're going to be covering red and blue. Same as last time. I have Tim Tam, the only available in Australia,
Hello.
and um, and I've got Mr. Paddy Wagon here, who's just woken up. And
Hello
despite
again.
that, I'm the one who feels like he's just woken up. Either way, we're gonna get straight into it with the first card, Hero, Child of Fate. When this is placed from hand to stage, mill 2. If there's at least one climax there, it gains 3k for the turn. And when this is placed from hand to stage, you may pay 1 and clock yourself from deck. If you do, salvage a level 1 or lower character. So, pretty typical salvage. Ricky has a useful self pump to make itself 5k to beat over oversizes. In some instances, most times it'll serve just as a mill 2, which in itself is quite valuable as well. And of course the salvage Ricky, which honestly is used as much for its cost as it is for its, actual benefits. But yeah, what can you do? What do you guys think?
The mill helps the salvage selection, obviously, but
Slightly, yeah.
it's underwhelming. I think I can understand the appeal of cutting the number of counts of this card more. I sympathize with not being impressed with the effect. A lot of the time, you look at your waiting room and the cards are crap. They're just the cards that you mulliganed in the
Lets you
beginning of the game,
mull.
jobs that you don't want.
Lets you mull cards like
More
level
aggressive,
one
though.
cards. Yeah.
Mull away the cards that you want to have in your hand anyway, in case you draw
Sure. I
this.
mean, as long as it's one copy,
Maybe
right?
not even 4 of.
I mean, you wouldn't like mull like two more than one copy if you're level one combo.
I mean,
But
sure,
it's
you do have
probably
a brainstorm.
acceptable.
I get it. But
It's
this
yeah.
is a I don't even think this is necessarily a 4 of. Space is very tight in the deck.
I agree.
That's fair enough.
But it's still a stock clock costed level 0 attacker.
Yeah, the cost is fine, and
There's
it
a
is
floor
better.
how bad this can be.
Yeah, it's better than draw or that sort of thing. The mill 2 is also fine. Like I think it is fine.
Okay.
Okay, next card. This one is 02 Elite Parasite. It's a 3/2, and when it comes to play, you may ditch a card from your hand. If you do, put the top card of your clock in stock, so it's a heal to stock, reasonable effect. And when the battle opponent of this is reversed, you can pay 4 and sack another character. If you do, deal 4 damage to your opponent. So I did allude to a stock heavy hand light finisher in some of the other videos, and this is it. It's a pretty potent finisher that works on both turns. It all it asks from you is stock. Every like the sack a card from stage is usually pretty easy to do, and pay 4 burn 4 is certainly a valuable effect. I don't know how overwhelmingly powerful this is, but I think it's pretty good. What about you guys?
I'm surprised to find that I also think it's pretty good. I was really down the card on spoiler day. The cost and the effect reminds people of Shizuru from Rewrite Anime. If you heal and burn once, then the total cost is 3 stock and discarding a card, which is what Shizuru does. Shizuru heals on play, discards to pay a cost, and that's like one of the best healers in the game. And this burns for 2 times as much, so it's twice as good.
Yes.
But this is fine.
Yeah. Seems like a fine healer.
It's pretty solid.
This or what's her face? The Misakura. Misakura.
Misakura. It's
Or
it's a
both.
good question. I think both is the correct choice.
All right.
Yeah, like I legitimately think you can play both and be happy with it.
I think people lean more toward
Did I give
this, but it's still good. Both of them are still reasonable choices. Yeah, I agree.
I give Misakura B plus. I could probably give this a B plus too.
if you do not, like, if you whiff on the door uh, for the next combo, though, this is like better if you've got nothing else going on, just because it's hard to win a game solely on just burn ones. So I can appreciate that this is more attractive as the secondary finisher heal slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's a very solid secondary heal slot. And I feel like people should play it. Pretty good card. Alright, next one, it's you, Streltzia. 3 to 10k. This is the first double R merge target we've had, I believe, trans target. For each marker under this, gains 1k. When it attacks, you can check the top card of your deck. If you do, put it face down under this as a marker, and when this attacks, if you have Queen Pike in the climax zone, which is a 8, you can pay 2. If you do, burn your opponent for 2, and this gains 3k for the turn. So ideally, if you are going to advance summon it, it'll be a 13k plus whatever support's on back. Then when you attack with it, if you do decide you want to do the climax combo, which is not necessarily going to be the case, but if you do, then it'll be attacking as a 17k, as a really big thing, basically. But aside from this being quite literally this is a mech from Star Driver. This is literally a mech from Star Driver.
Hey man, it's the
This
same guy. It's the
card,
same mech designer.
it is literally the same. It even has a space for the little feather thingy that what's the main mech? Talburn or something? Yeah, it's even got that.
Yes.
Look, that aside, this is a trans target with no inherent way of protecting itself. It doesn't have that 3k power on the opponent's turn. It only relies on having 3k power based on having attacked, and it does not reimburse you for the cards you spent. Is this worth it as a trance?
Do you have a
Nope.
choice though?
This card
Oh, I
frustrates
mean,
me quite a bit.
the blue trance targets are they're things,
Well, I mean,
but
I guess you don't have to run the trance, but
no.
uh,
It
yeah,
is very scary
I
to
guess.
trance this without comboing on the same turn. So as a trance, this is a frustrating card, and you get no value from it on play or anything without having trance. So uh, I don't I don't like or want to try to evaluate it as a trance because I think it's too depressing to do so. I think it's easier to evaluate it as a finisher that can be tranced out, and like you can combo for the finish from 2-5 or whatever rather than be forced to be level 3. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I like the card though, despite being frustrated with it. The fact that it gets really big means you earn your counter steps for like your +4 soul event, as we talked about on the last cast in yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And burn 2 is a really good number. Burn 2 is excellent. So it's hard to be really resentful of this card.
Yeah, no, as a finisher, I think it is great. Just play down a couple attack because this is not on reverse dependent or anything. As an advanced summon, I am less sold, but I could still see it working. Uh, Basically, if your meta does not have ways to take down cards like this, and you can defend it pretty easily with a counter or a support, then this card will quite likely stick. And if it sticks, then I don't really have any complaints about it. My complaints are when it doesn't stick, and then it dies, and then it took your cards with you. Um, it might still be good enough. It's hard to say. Um,
Yeah, I
so
agree.
let's assume it is good enough. Let's assume you can play this as your early summon. Would you be jumping
Oh,
to do your combo on that turn?
Um,
I'm less pressured to do so if I think it can live. Um, I'm more okay with
Mm,
I'm more okay with sculpting my hand and having it doesn't require shooting immediately and comboing immediately if this actually has a chance to live, obviously.
Uh,
And
if
but my rating isn't gonna think about very much the trance. I kind of I kind of refuse to do so.
if I have enough stock to play something like a level 3 next turn, sure, I would do it. In the event that I hit level 3 or something,
mm-hmm.
maybe like 1. God, probably not 2. I don't know. You probably wouldn't even get trance 2 out, but I think doing 1 combo is reasonable if you have the stock.
Yep. I think it is just a question of whether you have the stock. The card itself is pretty solid. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep.
All right then. Next card. Um, Hero, Embarrassing Confession. When you play this from hand to stage, this gains the ability, when it dies, it comes back rested. Uh, so, uh, I mean, that's a thing, I guess. You can tap this to give one of your other Parasite or Franxx cards 1,500 for the turn. So, reasonable power boost. I think it's pretty good. Um,
Works with that
well, it's with a
finisher.
lot of things.
Yeah, it works with a lot of things. It's sack synergy, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just saw that 0 to level 3 that sacked a card. Um, and yeah, I agree. The power pump is relevant for a lot of different level 1 plans. This card as a trance target, I thought it was like the best one on release. No, I just think it's fine.
Yeah. Fine seems about right. Um,
It helps that this is rest self because the brainstorms in this set are rest self also. So you're not.
yeah.
It's not hogging your ability to brainstorm. You can do both. Not hurting
Speaking
your
of
ability to brainstorm.
speaking of self-tap brainstorms, 02 Momentary Peace. This is a self-tap brainstorm. For each climax you reveal in the top 4, you salvage character, and when you play it from hand to stage, give a character cannot be bombed or reversed by auto effects, basically. That is basically non-existent text as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Like
sometimes
I,
you can. Yeah, go ahead.
I understand that you can, save an advanced summon from precisely
Mhm.
red on reverse anti-change bombs, but uh, that seems like a lot that needs to go right. Right, like you need to be playing against a very
Mm.
specific deck for that to ever be
It's
relevant.
it's hard to believe that you choose this over the. It's hard to believe you choose between brainstorms on on that basis.
Mm-hmm. I do think self-tap salvage is a fine brainstorm profile, and I'm pretty happy to have it in most sets. And therefore I'm going to give it that on the merit of the brainstorm alone. I don't really rate the other effect very highly. It does very little. If that were the only effect on a card, I'd probably give it an F.
Hmm.
Um, all right. Next card is 02, Picture Book Like Story. This is a 1/0 climax combo, 4/5 base power. When you play it from hand to stage, it gains 500 times the number of Franxx or Parasite you have, including itself. And when you reverse something with the split 2k1 soul in your climax zone, this gains the ability. When when this is front attacked, you may choose one of your other characters and this card and bounce to hand. So this is basically the Psychono Eriri climax combo. Um, in fact, I think it's almost exactly that, right?
Uh,
Ignoring the climax, but
yeah,
whatever. It's basically it can be a +1, but it won't ever be more than. Oh, I mean, it can be more than a +1. Uh, it's really weird because when these cards that have a resource that is used up to plus, subsequent copies become worse and worse. But the problem with this card, I think, is that while it's a serviceable climax combo, there are a few other cards which make this card a lot harder to justify. Like, this card works very poorly with a certain 1-0, 02. At least I think it
Mm,
works very poorly. Like,
if you play multiples of this, then yeah, I agree. But if you get one reverse with this,
right,
then
playing just one of this at 0-2 and then some other
yeah,
rando card,
yeah.
and that wouldn't be
I
the worst turn.
I agree though that it's annoying that multiples of this get worse. Um, that you don't get the same kind of returns off a second reverse that you do in other decks. But uh, I this was my first time playing with this profile, and I was pretty impressed with it. You
Yeah,
end up
like
with a lot of cards.
it's yeah, you do get a lot of cards. As to how useful those cards are is a completely different question.
Yes, especially in a
Like
trance deck where you want
yes,
specific cards if you want to double trance. This does not
yes,
contribute to that plan at all.
yes. I don't think cards were ever the problem for this deck anyway. Like you usually do get the cards you need to trance, but it's what happens afterwards. And at that point, this card is no longer particularly powerful. I think the biggest strike against this card might actually be that it's not a backbreaking climax combo, and it uses a non-desirable climax, which is, I mean, I don't dislike the split 2k1 soul as much as most people
Hmm.
do, but I can also see that it's just not a desirable climax. Like, you wouldn't actively look for that to be put into your deck.
Sure, I think it's pretty good here though. You reach very high numbers.
Yeah, you reach pretty good numbers, and that's fine. But I also think it's not entirely necessary because you already have the hero, which can tap for 1,500.
Hmm.
You've got a couple common plays that pump you. I don't think power was ever going to be the limiting
Sure.
factor on this.
Worth mentioning about the hero. The hero can return itself to play like on a crash, which
Hmm.
has reasonable synergy with this because you can crash into a very big lane with the hero. It'll come back rested. Now you have something to bounce.
Yeah, but you do forego that 1-5. So I guess that not needing the 1-5 because of the 2k1 souls uh, does come back in a, I guess it's not an actively good thing, but it's not a bad thing. Yeah, no, that's I think we'll leave it there. You've got it a bit higher than we do, but that's perfectly reasonable. And you get to deny reverses and stuff, but
Yes, that is true.
I think that that's less important because you unless you get multiples of this, it's very hard to really deny reverses with that.
Hmm.
The next card is 02, Embarrassing Confession. So this matches with the hero with the same subtitle. It is the merge card. Uh, Unlike, say, the Kokoro merge, this one specifically, guarantees the double merge if you want it, puts two Streltsy into waiting room, then merges with the hero. And the thing is, hero is not actually sacked. Hero goes under as a marker, so you can't, have hero still be there and not neg from this. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is only as good as the advanced summon. Me personally, I don't. I would need to play it in a specific meta. I don't think you can just jam this trance and expect it to come out unscathed because I do think there is a really big problem if Strozia is answered. And as a result, I'm only going to give it a C. I think it's a fine thing for the set to have access to, and I do think it can snowball out of control. But I also think that if it doesn't snowball out of control, it is very bad for you.
Sure. See.
Hmm.
Okay, next card. This is Strozia Apis. When placed from hand to stage, check the top card of your deck. If it is a Parasite or Franxx, you can burn your opponent for 1. And when it attacks, give a Parasite or Franxx character plus X power, where X is 500 times the number of your characters with those traits. This is a rather vanilla-ish level 3. It does have that finisher effect, but other than that, it doesn't really do a great deal. Is this worth a slot in your deck or a slot on your stage?
Yeah, I don't think so. The
Wins the
power.
lane. Wins the lane, right?
Yes, it can contribute toward one of your unreverse finishers. winning lane, so it can help
Well,
Misakura or
and it
the burn.
synergizes with the event.
You need to
Synergize with the
win
event. Oh,
multiple
sure.
lanes to. You need to win all three lanes for that event to
This is
really
like
go
the
off.
only. Let's
It
see.
helps earn a counter step for the event, and then it'll fail the burn because of the event.
I think what you might have to do is build up a really big Streltsy field in order to take advantage of that event. I'm not entirely sure this card is worth it. You already have so many tech
Hmm.
level threes that you might not even play.
Yeah.
I can appreciate this card. I can appreciate that it's here and that it actually does have a finishing effect, but I'm still not going to give it anything more than just a C.
If some of the other level threes in the set were like not in the set, then you'd be eyeing this as a more attractive option. But if you want power, then play the Janista back row, and if you want more front row finishers, then I think you'd play
It's
your
fair, I
other level
think.
threes.
That's fair. Alright. Next card, Miku, Mood Maker. Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen that subtitle. When this is placed from hand to stage, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Franxx, Parasite, or an event card, add it to your hand and ditch card. It's kind of neat. And when it attacks, choose another character to gain 1/5 for the turn. This is a bunch of really good utility all in one card. Um, I wouldn't say any part of it is obscenely powerful or extremely, strong or anything, especially given the utility the rest of the set has and the strength of its level 0 lineup. But I can appreciate that there's a whole bunch of good text on this card.
Yeah, I agree. It's a cute card. I could be argued up to a C plus, but I'm I, I haven't put it in any lists still, so uh, it it's fine. Yep, I agree.
See, the thing is, you not putting in a list isn't because this card isn't good. It's because there are so many zeros that you want to play other than this.
Yeah,
And
I would not be
I think
ashamed to play this.
yes, I think that's a fair way to put it. Um, yeah. So this is a card that I think is respectable and defensible in a lot of
Okay,
lists.
that's fine. I'll join you at C plus.
We got him. Peer pressure.
Very, yeah.
All right, 02, Love Sweet Food. It's a 003K. If you don't have another character with Parasite or Franks, this does not stand during your stay. Are those pancakes?
No, you don't want to
Uh,
know what they are.
I really don't want
it's
to know
honeyed
Those-
ham or something.
those. Yeah. I mean, it's honeyed
You know
ham.
that
That's
scene
I
in
mean
To Kill a
that's
Mockingbird?
oh good grief. All right. When the battle opponent of this is reversed, choose another character with Parasite or Franks, rest it, move it to an empty slot in the back row. I could totally have seen this being like a double R. I'm impressed that they managed to control themselves and put it down to this.
This card's sweet. This card's cool.
Yeah, I think it's well positioned in this set too. You'd like to be able to get attacks out of your trance zeros and not just be stuck with them in the back row at 0. You'd like to be able to get an attack out of them, and this lets you do so.
You have room for this, right?
Uh, Sometimes I could
No,
put in a couple,
I
but
do not think you have room
Oh,
unless you want to cut something else.
that's sad.
Yeah,
slots are
you
very
have.
competitive.
So you have. Let's go through it. You have runners.
I
You have.
would possibly run this over Honor.
I can believe that.
Yeah, sure. I could believe that. I wouldn't agree with that, but I could believe it. You've got runners. You've got brainstorms. You've got the Ikuno on reverse Rize thingy. You've got whatever you decide to uh trance
Trance
with.
with, sure.
You've got if that card is the hero, then so be it. If it's not the hero, then you have to put the hero in as well. Any tech cards you want to put, like if you want to tech a Janista, you've got to play that. I know Japan really likes the hero, which salvages the present event, so they play a bunch of that. And then any other mill options you might want. Basically, it's very hard to even cut down to 18 zeros, let
Goro
alone
drop search.
16 or 15.
Yes, the girl job searcher too. It's very competitive.
Sure,
But
whatever.
This card's pretty good here.
Yeah,
I like this card.
this card is fine. I wouldn't play it over runners because I'm not an insane person,
I
but
think the value definitely goes up the more good level zeros you have to play, though.
yeah. I don't think the runner's value diminishes, for the
It's
record.
unfortunate.
Also worth noting, multiple zeros have good on reverse effects, which you can reuse with this.
Yes. Ooh. Not. Yes.
Okay, that still doesn't take it away from not necessarily being the best choice, but sure. Next card, Hero, Connected Feelings. This is a plus 2k support for level 3s, and therefore a shoe-in for most trance builds that aren't running Janista. When it's placed from hand to stage, this gains that same when it dies, you can put it back rested effect, and when Bird that shares wings, which is a gate that is not, it's not Strozia's gate, is placed to the climax zone, you can pay 1. If you do, your opponent cannot play events or backups in any battle, which is actually a really neat effect. Is it neat enough to play a third climax? Or, to play this climax at all?
Yeah,
Probably
hard
not.
to believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
So let's just pretend it does not have that text. What do you rate this?
Uh,
This is fine.
yes.
Fine is fine. I agree.
I
It
think
is
that
fine.
sack effect is less relevant here because it's like
Once you get to that point, it's
you. Yeah, I mean, usually you're
really
playing
not that
this
big a deal.
earlier, so and it's also a back row card, which you're not incentivized to attack with. So there's less value with that 0-2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right then. Next card, 0-2, under the Cherry Blossoms. Up to once turn when you use a startup effect, this gains 500 times the number of characters with Parasite or Franxx, so it goes to 9-5 sometimes. And when this attacks, if the level of the character opposite is 3 or higher, this gains 6k. So 13k, and if you do like a tap of any sort, it goes to at least probably around 15 or so. This is a very good level 3 killer. It'll kill pretty much anything, especially if you stack the 1/5 hero buff on it. And I'm happy to give it a bit of a higher grade because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is its only role. I do get that it can attack as like a 9/5 against other big level 2s, or as an 11k, I guess, if you want to tap for hero. But I feel like against decks like that, you should just be trancing. So this is usually going to be reserved for anti-level 3 warfare, and while that's a perfectly reasonable role, that's all it really is. I don't think it's anything to get out of your seat for. It's fine.
When deck building during spoiler season, I built a shell which had 4 slots left empty for a 2-1, a good 2-1. And this
I
is spoiled. I was like,
I
does this
what?
fit?
I thought this deck had slot issues.
Yeah,
It,
well,
it
I
did, but
tried building
does, but
because there was gloves, right? And there's a Janista early play to give power to the 2-1, and there are lots of the pieces that you'd think would make a good 2-1 good even better, but I don't know if this really fits the picture. It's sad that this activates on startup, which is partially good because all your trances are startups, your heroes a cost of startup. A lot of ways to pump it power, but events obviously don't proc it, and the gloves is an event, not a startup.
Yes.
So that's too bad.
Also, you don't really have great counters in this set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, none of them are
nothing too
really.
special. I don't
Yeah,
think.
nothing's really worth devoting a
Maybe
lot of
if
space
the
to.
anti-change counter were costed differently, then this plan could be real, and I would actually have
Would it be
played
though?
the
I feel like the
strategies thought
counter
about
has
it.
to plus somehow. I feel like that gameplay only works if your counter either you're just like huge without a counter, or your counter does really awesome things for you.
Balanced it very hard. The basically the card had it was cool. This card actually is pretty cool, but I was disappointed that I wasn't able to make a deck. I wasn't able to follow through on the initial deck list I had made, anticipating a card like this in this
Yeah.
slot.
Okay.
All right. Next card is Nana, Parasite Manager. Negative levels while on the stage and gets plus 1k for every other level 0 or lower character, which means every other copy of itself pumps it.
Right, but it can also just be
I
side.
don't think that's I really don't think that's a reason to play this card. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. This is just like a extremely mediocre card.
Also, doesn't
It
get
is a
pumped by anything.
it's like a yeah, it's auto-na, which means it doesn't really get pumped by anything except other
Oh wait,
copies
this
of
is off.
itself.
Is this off trade?
It is, oh god, it's off trait too, isn't
Okay,
it?
it's
Yeah.
time to give this an F.
Slam
This
that
is
F
an F.
button.
This card is offensive to me. If you're gonna put two
Offensive.
stock into a dude, I want the opponent to have to crash it.
Yeah, we've got this privilege. The
I wanna,
privilege is
I wanna
spilling
get
out.
a direct lane to put a utility card in and earn another soul on top of the 2 soul that I paid for. So no go, no thank you.
Careful, buddy. Your privilege is overwhelming us here. Imagine this card had 1 soul. Oh man. Alright, next card, 0/2, Pretty Things. It's a 0/0. If there's a marker under this, it gains give 1k power to everything in front, and when placed from hand to stage, choose up to 1 monster and prince in your hand, reveal it, and put it under this as a marker. So, do you see the problem with this? You're going like neg 1. You're losing 2 cards for a 1k support. Monster and Prince, for the record, is a 1/0 event, which is significantly better than this card, just, to play. I don't really know what to say. I don't think you ever play this card. The event is defensible, but this card is basically a trap.
I'm not gonna go down all the way to F, but I would never play this card either. I appreciate that the 1000 power comes online early enough that you can recoup the minus over the course of the game. Will go long enough once you play this down that hopefully you'll recoup the minus and earn field advantage. So this isn't a complete trash card. It helps that it doesn't marker itself, so
Pretty
like it
bad.
happens more consistent that you can dedicate 8 slots to this plan rather than just the 4 and rely on drawing 2 of it. That would reduce how often it would happen.
Do you want to listen to yourself? You're gonna dedicate 8 slots to this quote unquote combo. Like you can make the argument that the power may regain that much value over time, but
I'll put D minus, but
the more
I'll
you
put
talk
shamed
about
into
this
D
card,
minus.
the more you unwittingly reveal its the downsides, and I'm not a fan. Anyway,
Sure.
that is fine. Let's just move on. Zoromir, Provoking. Is this his only red card? Whatever. All your other Miku Sad Instant gain the
Oh
ability
baby.
level 1 bomb, and it's a ditch bond to that same Miku Sad incident.
Guess what that card is?
Can we move on, please?
It's
It's a 1/0
a vanilla.
Okay, my computer's about to explode. This is our best level 1 counter option, maybe. So
Is
I'm
it?
gonna... Maybe. Yeah, I don't actually remember. It might not be.
There's a level 1
All right.
costed counter in blue, and the other one we already talked about in green.
Alright, let's just
okay.
give this a C and move on, because my computer's about to implode.
Okay.
Because there's a very good card coming up. 0/2, first time synchronizing. When this attacks, you may sack another one of your Parasite characters. If you do, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Parasite or Franxx character, add it to your hand. This is a very good card. Don't be fooled by the fact that it's common, and don't be fooled by the fact that the Apocrypha version was unplayable, and I think there's been another version as well. This card is super powerful.
They have finally delimited it.
Yeah, if you go under the principle that everything on your field in the front row is going to die, then this card effectively eliminates that by, letting the card die anyway, in order to try and get a plus from it. And that is a huge, huge bonus. It's like every single copy of every single card in your deck that you can sack basically has the check top card. If it's a Parasite or Franxx, then well, it's almost like a bounce. Not quite, because you're not always able to play the card you take, but you get a card, and that is absolutely insane. The reason why the Apocrypha one wasn't playable was because it was so restrictive. This one is not restrictive. It is basically for anything in the set. And not only that, it has a respectable power level, which means not only can you kill things with it, but well, I mean, I wouldn't rely on defending this card unless you decide to play four of that really bad for it. And even then, it's not really. Anyway, point is, this card can give up some damage well, it gives your opponent 3 lanes, but in exchange, you get a bunch of cards. And that's really powerful. I think people need to play with this to understand how powerful this really is.
And at some points, the extra damage is either desirable or not as much of a detriment.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the fact that it is it denies reverses, which is often enormous, especially in certain meta.
Yeah, you crash this, you've denied 2 lanes for yourself against an opponent that might be playing. You can have Bang Dream, for example. Is there anything that's has Franxx trait but not Parasite? Is it the robots?
Yeah,
I assume the robots. That would only make
all
sense.
of those.
All right, just something to note, I guess.
Yes, all the trance targets, you won't be able to sack those with this. I mean, all the trancers, the level 3s.
Just something to note, I guess.
And this does not plus you back if you play a lot of events as reliably, but I don't think that makes the card worse. You'd still put this in a deck if you can meet the color requirements, even if you have a ton of events in it, because it's...
Look, since the card that you sack was effectively a lost cause anyway, or at least I'm assuming so in a lot of scenarios, it doesn't even matter if you don't get that card back, because you weren't going to get it back anyway. This is just effectively everything is upside except for the fact your opponent gets a direct lane for free. And as we've already spoken about, that can be converted into a upside for you. Okay, I'm giving it a higher rate than these two guys, but that's because I think that this card is very unique right now, and if you want a power card in Franxx, this might actually be it. I can expect this card to be like a rare or double rare quite soon. Next card.
I can believe that prediction, sure.
Yeah. Hero, Tiny Prince. This is a 1055. If you have another character without, if you don't have enough Parasite or Franxx, it doesn't stand, blah, blah, blah. Hey, this is just a 0-2 card, but on a 1-0 vanilla.
Yep.
Okay, so 1-0 clean cuts are much worse than 0-0 clean cuts.
Yes.
In most scenarios. I think this is one of those scenarios. But you can do the really dank meme of playing a random shitter, playing the 1-0 above, and denying 2 lanes by also getting this reverse. I'm not quite at that level of dankness yet, but it's this card is not as bad as I was giving it shit for. I think it's like
it works on both turns.
It is a fine card. Yeah, sure, but you don't have very much in the way of defense anyway.
That's true. It's like, yeah.
These two cards together form a level 1 plan that does not require you to play a level 1 Climax combo, which can open up some interesting build paths.
Oh, dude, you can play 8 gates and run the anti-counter nonsense.
Yes, I tried making a list like that.
I was joking, but I'm flabbergasted that you actually tried that.
I did.
As you are. All right.
It's that vanilla.
It's the vanilla. I don't even want to grace it with a grade. I'm not even gonna bother. Zoromir, Up in the Air. This is a 1/1/6k up to once turn. When users start up, this gains bloody blah, which is usually 2/5 with full field. Up to once turn, yes. Up to once turn, when this is reversed, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 2 or higher, you may rest this card. This is a shaky proposition. Cards like this, basically, in order for me to want to play this card, it would need to have some sort of decent encore. And since it doesn't have that, I'm not. I don't count the check top for level 2 or higher as encore. You need literal encore. So I can be guaranteed that my one stock investment can be protected somehow.
So
Um,
it's kind of a weird design because it's designed to survive at the counter step, but
it also
it
has
also has a
a
coin flip
a fail
effect, which
safe.
incentivizes it dying.
Well, no, it
So
doesn't. Like you can think of it as one or the other, and the other one is just gravy. Like neither technically incentivizes the other. I don't think that's the correct way to look at it.
no,
This
I'm
is just
saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the startup.
well, no. What I mean is neither ability incentivizes the relevant thing. Like it does affect deck building. I'll give you that, but you can choose to ignore one, and it'll just be there in the case that it's ever relevant. And it might not be relevant, and that's totally fine. Either way, this card kind of sucks. Let's move on. Monster and Prince. This is the event that we alluded to. If you don't have a 0/2 hero, you can't play it. Check the top card of your deck. Or reveal it, sorry. If it's level 1 or higher, add it to your hand, so this can be a cantrip in a lot of situations. And then put this card into your stock. So, riddle me this. Would you rather ditch this card from your hand in order to let your 0/0 become a 1k support that will eventually be outclassed? Or would you rather play this card, this card that has nothing but pretty positive text on it?
Okay, talk to me a little bit more about why this card is reasonable. Because, yeah, you get your stock, and maybe that stock can be used wisely. But unlike like the good versions of this kind of card, the the there's a reasonable chance that you just lose the card entirely, that you don't get your card back. It's like 50-50 or something in most reasonably built decks, which have like 16-ish zeros and 8 climaxes in them.
This doesn't. You get some slots. You get some hits back compared to those cards because this can get itself, as well as any other event
Sure.
that you're running.
That's worth something.
Sure, but
Like,
like taking any typical deck into account, it's still not going to be much better than 50%.
sure.
So,
That
I
can
don't
be
know.
worrying.
I like that. I like that you get a stock. Often a stock is worth a card. A stock lets you brainstorm when you couldn't. A stock lets you pay for a Ricky when you couldn't. So that's cool. I am. It's a
Yeah,
D plus to me. That
it
it's
is.
not complete trash.
Um, I wouldn't call it trash. I think it is around a C. I think it is an event that has decent text on it.
Huh.
Is there as much synergy for this kind of card as there is in something like Bang Dream? In Bang Dream, you get like really good payoff for playing events like this.
Yeah.
It's like part of your end game, basically.
That's the comparison I'm scared of making, because Bang Dream gets you back your card pretty reliably. It's delayed, yes, but you do get your
No, that
card
deck
back
doesn't.
most
It
of the
doesn't,
time.
right? Because it's like
Even
you
with
run
like
like
the 9 event build, you've only got like 17 misses
sure.
compared to here where you have 24.
That's sure, but uh,
Mm,
I don't. Hmm.
Okay, there's a reasonable way to think that this card is fine and worth putting in a deck. Okay, my rating is quite possibly too low, but
I don't think it's that great either. But, yeah.
it's possible if I actually played with it that I could change my mind. But as is, I'm never putting it in a deck. I don't want to just throw this card away, and I'd rather just put this be a 0 and attack with it and deal damage, and that's how I'll get my stock.
uh, I can understand not wanting to play this because you'd rather just have another level 0, but um, eh. Alright, shall we move on? Next card is a pretty typical event, Moment of Fate. It's a 2/1 where you get to salvage 2, then ditch a card from hand. Slightly more useful in a deck like this that wants a lot of very specific cards. and can generate a fair bit of hand through its various advantage engines. This is a fine ability for any deck to have access to, and I think it is a perfectly reasonable C+.
I think it's well positioned here. Yeah, I think it's fine to put it in your deck.
Mm-hmm. It still can be difficult if you want to splash other, splash Janista or splash Chlorophytum or anything like that. But I do think that there is some merit here.
Yeah.
Alright. That is it for red, and we will see you all in blue.